Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi to Madam Zainab binti Muhammad Zainuddin. My name is Muhammad Azrin Shah bin Abdul Hamid, followed by others member, which is Nurainda binti Nur Azlan, Hasinah Kubra binti Muhammad Jalal, and last but not least, Nur Farah Izurin binti Muhammad Asri. And now we're gonna talk about the comparison privatization and private finance initiative, which is PFI. Okay, so for our content, we are gonna discuss about the privatization of their function, examples, and advantage, also disadvantage. Same goes with private finance initiative, which is PFI. We're gonna discuss about the functions, the examples, advantage, and also disadvantage. And last but not least, we will do comparison, the similarities and the differences. And last but not least is the conclusion.
What is privatization? Privatization occurs when a government-owned business, operation, or property become owned by a private, non-government party. Privatization also may describe a transition that it takes a company from being publicly traded to becoming privately held. This is referred to as corporate privatization. So how privatization works? Privatization of specific government operation happen in a number of ways. Generally, the government transfer ownership of specific facilities or business process to a private for-profit company. Privatization generally help governments save money and increase efficiency. In general, two main sectors compose on economy: the public sector and the private sector. Government agencies generally run operation and industry within the public sector. In the US, the public sector includes the US Postal Service, public school and university, the police and firefighter department, the National Park Service, and the National Security and Defense Service. I will talk about advantage of privatizations. Firstly, efficiency. Private firms are often more efficient than government-run entities, leading to improved productivity and reduced costs. Second, innovation. Privatization can foster innovation and technology advance as for private company compared to their to improve their service. Next, competitions. Privatization introduces competition which can lead to better quality product and service as companies try to attract customers. Next, investment. Privatizations can attract private investments, which can help modernize infrastructures and stimulate economic growth. Next, I will tell about the advantage of privatizations. Firstly, inequality. Privatization can lead to unequal access to essential service, practically for low-income individuals who may not afford private service. Second, job losses. Privatization can result in job losses as private company may streamline operation or cut the costs, leading to layoff. Next, loss of accountability. Private company may prioritize profit over public interest, leading to reduced transparency and accountability in the delivery of service. Then, monopoly. Privatization can lead to the agency of monopolies or oligopolies, reducing competitions and potentially harms customers through highest price or lower quality service.
Okay, so for the example of the privatization in Malaysia, the privatization started since 1983, which is at that time the Prime Minister under Mahathir Mohamad wants to publicize his government's intention to embark on a privatization policy. The first ever privatization is about the Economic Planning Unit, which is the EPU. The unit was established in 1961 as the Economic Secretariat of the Economic Committee under the Executive Council of the 10 Federation of Malaysia. This EPU is to the prepare of the is gonna be the preparation of the development plans for the nation. The second one is PMP, which is the Privatization Master Plan, aiming to enhance the efficiency and encourage private sector participation in various sectors of the economy on the country. The third one, which is the Privatization Action Plan, PAP, a 2-year rolling plan to assist in the implementation. The PAP was reviewed annually with a view to identify or to measures the expedite the implementation of the program and to determine the entities. The PAP was guided by a study undertaken by a private consultants who were commissioned by the government to review the advisability of privatizing government-owned entitles.
What is a private finance initiative? Private finance initiative, which is PFI, is a way of financing public sector project through a private sector. What is private sector? The private sector is the part of the economy that is run by individual and companies, often for profit, rather than a government. PFI, uh, PFI which alleviate the government and taxpayer immediate burden of with raising capital this project. How is the private finance initiative works? The first is it used to fund major public work, which is in many infrastructure projects include highway, roadway, and transport projects. The private sector may be contracted to construct water, wastewater facilities, prison, private school, arenas, and sport facilities. Next, we move to the advantage of the PFI. There's a several of advantage. The first is it raised money to fund public infrastructure project. The second is it it can improve on-time project completion and transfer risk associated. The third is it borrowed from the bond market and hired the contractor for the project. Last but not least, the PFI is improve the relationship between the public and private sector. Next, we move to the disadvantage of PFI. Since the repayment, including the payment plus interest, the burden may end up being transferred to future taxpayer. In addition, the arrangement ongoing maintenance can increase a project future. There is also a risk to private sector firm may not comply with the relevant safety or quality standard when they're managing a project. And it is also not able to secure the private financing without assurance will be repaid in the case of termination. That's all from me. Thank you.
So, following for the example of private finance initiative, which is PFI, the private finance initiative typically including the major government projects such as highway, public transport, airports, bridges, and tunnels. And for the other example that we can relate it, for the PFI is including hospital, arenas, prisons, and the public schools. But is it in Malaysia have the PFI, which is private finance initiatives? Of course, we have. The one example that we can get is the bullet train between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, which is the project which is currently under government consideration, is another example of project of this PFI format. Overall, PFI in Malaysia is a new and unique mechanism, unlike other concession that have been used in the past, which is for PFI implementation in Malaysia is kind of new. So we will see more in the future.
Today, I would like to present about comparison between privatization and private finance initiative (PFI). In this comparison, we have similarities and difference. The first similarities is private sector involvement. In this section, both privatization and PFI involve the private sector playing a role in traditionally public endeavors. This can be in expertise, efficiency and potentially and new funding sources. The second similarities is focus on infrastructure and services. They usually apply to public services like public transport and waste collection or infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, and water treatment facilities. Firstly, we have owner transfer. In this section, privatization is complete or partial sale of a public asset to a private company, while PFI is partnership between public and private sector. Secondly, we have risk allocation. Privatization is private owner bears the financial risk associated with operating the asset. Meanwhile, PFI is allocating risk is a crucial component, which is party is in charge of particular risks such as construction delays, cost overruns, or demand fluctuations is expressly stated in the contract. Thirdly, we found that both have different which is accountability. In privatization, the profitability and performance of the asset are the private owner responsibility to its shareholder. They put financial gain ahead of public services objective. Meanwhile, PFI is a public sector that ensures the private company deliver as per the contract, while the private sector meets performance standard and financial obligation. Last but not least, we found that finding is privatization is the private company that acquires the asset, finance its operation and maintenance. They generate revenue through user fees. Meanwhile, PFI is the initial expense of development and construction are financed by loans and private investment from private sector. Over the course of a long-term contract, public sector pays the private corporation on a regular basis to cover these costs as well as operation and maintenance. In conclusion, PFI and privatization are both useful strategies for completing infrastructure projects or providing public services. In this situation, the government has to still play a strong and proactive role in their duty as a regulators to secure the project success and protect the public interest.
So thank you for lending me your ears to listening for our slide, for our presentation. I hope you have a nice day and goodbye.